a business owner or a business startup and you're about to launch your business, maybe a product-based business or a service-based business, it is actually very wise to learn how to actually go about launching your very first product or launching your very first service. And that is the reason why today's video I am actually going to be breaking down what you actually need to take into consideration before launching your business. So the first thing I want you to understand is learning your target audience. Who are your target audience? Who do you want your product or your service to be geared towards? Who do you want your product or your service to serve? Okay, it is also very important that you take into consideration their pain point. Like, what are they constantly looking for? What problem are they constantly or are they trying to solve? Because when you understand your audience or your customer to be pain points, this will actually enable you to actually sell to them. You're selling a product or a service that would actually help them to solve or address their pain points or their problem. Maybe you don't actually know what exact product or service that you are going to create or launch first. For example, you can actually go and do market research. That is where carrying out market research comes into play and is very, very important. You go and do market research. What are the problems people are facing in this line of your business? Now, that process, you are carrying out a market research. You are understanding what problem are people currently facing that I know that my business can actually address. Now, once you have carried out that market research, you go ahead and start with that product. Create a product or a service, depending on what your business is all about. Create a product or a service that is going to help address those pain points or those problems. You don't want to, like, as a startup business, you don't want to start with a product. You don't want to launch a product that nobody needs. Okay, you need to actually understand that you have to give customers what they need. Okay, not something that they do not need. And that is why understanding your audience, your target audience, and their pain points is very important, because this will actually help you understand what your audience actually needs. What problem are they currently facing that they need solution to? Now, after you must have understood who your target audience is and their pain points, the next thing I want you to actually take into consideration or carry out is to draft out a pre-launch content strategy. Yes, draft out a pre-launch content strategy. Now, what does pre-launch content strategy have to do with? This has to do with you drafting out the type of content that you are going to be posting before your official launch, before you officially launch that product or before you officially launch that service. You can introduce behind the scenes content, carrying your customers or carrying people along with you, along the journey of you maybe creating that product. It is going to help foster connection between you and your audience, because when you carry them along on that journey, it is going to help foster more connection in the long run. And by the time you actually launch that your product or that your service, those people that has been following you on that journey will be very, very interested in buying your product or actually purchasing your service. Now, aside behind the scenes content, another content that you can actually introduce as part of your pre-launch content is educational content. So you can actually educate your viewers or your customers on how to use your product, like trying to enlighten people why this your business, why this your product or your service that you're trying to offer is going to be very valuable to them. Now, before we move on to the next step, it is very important that as you are actually drafting out your pre-launch content strategy, you also need to have a goal behind it. Okay, why are you creating this content? Why are you creating this educational content? I want you to actually have a goal behind every content that you are going to be putting out there on your social media platform, because when you have a goal, it is going to help you, like it is going to help guide the content, the type of content that you are going to create. You will tend to create content that are geared towards you achieving those goals or you achieving those objectives. Now, the next thing I want you to actually do before you launch that your product or that your service is to actually show people the value they are going to get from that your product or your service. Now, I want you to actually sell the value. In this step or in this stage, you're actually selling the value that your product or your service will give to that customer. Take for example, now let's say let's bring back the makeup aspect. For those people that has a very dark skin complexion and they are looking to solve a problem of finding a foundation that will actually match their skin shade, okay, and also a foundation that is accessible. So we have two pain points of that particular consumer. The first pain point of that customer is getting a foundation that will match her skin shade. The second pain point is, I want a foundation that is accessible. Now, when it comes to you showing people the value, I want you to sell the value. The value I want you to sell in this aspect is creating content. You know, we've already talked about creating content. Now, in your content strategy, your pre-launch content strategy, I want you to focus on creating content that shows off the fact that your foundation is good for dark skin shade. It is going to be so perfect for dark skin shade, okay, and at the same time you can also showcase the fact that this product is actually going to be very accessible. So this way you are actually selling the solution or the value of your product. What I'm just trying to emphasize on is actually selling the value your product or your service is going to offer. One way you can actually foster people or make people excited before launch is selling the value that your product will give to them. So this is another strategy or another thing that you can actually do as a business startup that is looking to launch your business in a successful manner. Now, another one I just want to chip in has to do with you carrying your audience along. Remember when I was explaining creating pre-launch content strategy, I talked about creating BTS content. The reason why it is important for you to carry out your audience or your customers along is because this is actually going to keep them more interested. This is actually going to build connection with your customers, okay? And this is one thing about business, or if you know you want to actually build and grow a successful business, and that is learning how to build connection with your customers. And one of the ways you can build connection with your customers is by introducing content that will help carry your audience along. Now, the next pre-launch strategy you can actually impute before you launch that your product or your service is by offering a limited discount to your consumers. And before I even go in depth explaining this, offering this strategy, I just want to point out that if, let's say, you actually carried out the other step, the previous steps I talked about, where I was talking about you selling the value of your product, you've sold the value, you have made people excited, you have created excitement in this consumer. This consumer already feels excited, and then finally you have said that, okay, my product is going to launch in 30 days. They are already very, very well excited. Now, you do not just say my product will launch in 30 days, but I will be offering a 20%, for example. Okay, you can do 30, you can do 50, or whatever that fits well with your business, okay? But let's just use 20% for example. Let's say you introduced a 20% discount for, take for example, the first 100 people to purchase my product. Now, because that customer already feels excited, that customer will be more eager. You've already imputed in that customer memory timeliness, that do not sleep, wake up, turn on your notification, so that once my product launches in the next 30 days, you have to be among the first 100 people. That is what is going to be ringing in that customer's mind, because that customer, there is no one out there that does not like discounts. That alone actually fosters people to purchase that thing, most especially when that product is now something that is needed by that customer, something that that customer actually needs, sincerely needs. That customer will even be more eager to actually run. So let's bring it back to what I am talking about. So when you have created those excitements in that your customer, it is going to be ringing in the customer head that, I need to turn on my post notification bell. They will turn on their notification bell. Then when your product finally lands, they would love to be among the 100 people that will be partaking in that limited discount. So all I'm just trying to explain is that, first of all, it is very important that you carry out those other steps, because when you carry out those other steps, when you come to this particular step of you finally launching your product and also introducing a limited discount, it is actually going to help boost customers' purchasing power, okay, thereby helping your product to sell out faster by the time you finally launch that product or that service. These are just 5 strategies for startup business. I hope you actually found this video very helpful. If you did, please give my video a very big thumbs up, okay? Please like my video, subscribe to my channel, turn on the post notification bell so you'll be notified when next I upload amazing content like this. So guys, I will see you all in my next video. Bye.